Gregg Popovich and the Spurs and the San Antonio fans, they treated yesterday pretty much as a farewell for Manu Ginobili. It pretty much is a given that he's going to call it quits here, even though he hasn't done so officially. But what comes to mind, Matt, when you think about Manu Ginobili and his impact on the league and on, of course, the Spurs organization?
Well, first of all, he is one of my favorite players of all time. And people use the word unique too often. And, Michael, you know, or maybe you don't remember this, maybe you do, but from our University of Missouri journalism school days, there was a professor who once said, you can only use the word unique once because it's supposed to mean one of a kind. And Manu Ginobili really is, depending on his status, a unique player in NBA history. There's just no one you can point to and say that guy was Manu Ginobili before Manu, or that guy plays like Manu now. He may not have been the first to introduce the Euro step to the NBA, but he perfected it. He popularized it. There's never been a player, in my opinion, at least in my memory, who combined creative basketball genius with his sort of reckless abandon. Somebody on the broadcast last night said he never cheated the game. He always played hard. Just a great player, and a guy who's going to go immediately to the Hall of Fame if this is it. If you consider his international resume, he's one of two players ever with a EuroLeague championship, an Olympic gold medal, and an NBA title. Bill Bradley, the other. Just a great player, and I don't know him. I've been around him a couple of times, but everybody who's ever played with him just absolutely adores the guy as well, and you love to hear that about somebody.
Yeah, and you can see the adoration and the Warriors. They all stood and they were all clapping. I mean, they appreciate everything that he has done and what he means to the game.
Yeah, you got Draymond Green showering praise on another player. That's a pretty great thing to see. All right, what other changes do you anticipate for the Spurs this offseason?
You know, it's a fool's errand to try to guess what Gregg Popovich is going to do. I think we know that. But I could see some major changes. You know, Manu is going to turn 40 this summer, and as you said, it's kind of, I don't know if it's assumed, but you would have to think at some point he's going to hang it up, and this certainly seems like the time for that. Tony Parker is 35 and coming off a major injury. It's a strange injury, and so I don't know what the recovery will be for that. But it's not inconceivable that he's, if not done, diminished moving forward. LaMarcus Aldridge is now 2 years into this 4-year deal, and I don't know what verbal agreement there was between Gregg Popovich and LaMarcus Aldridge about his time there, but it's not inconceivable to me that the Spurs shop him. It's never been a perfect fit, and that's nobody's fault necessarily. It just hasn't really worked the way they expected it to work. I think he still has value as a featured player in the right system. I think he could still put up good numbers for somebody, and there are plenty of teams out there who could use a featured offensive player. And with Gregg Popovich now 68, I'm not predicting it. I don't know anything about it, but I think at some point in the very near future, he thinks about walking away from the NBA and visiting his winery more often, and focusing on USA basketball coming up, which is essentially a part-time job.